Shalom everyone. Today we will be discussing Parshas Vayeitzei. So Yaakov is on the run and he leaves his parents' house. He's headed to the east. He's going to his uncle Lavan to find himself a wife. And on the way, so Yaakov goes to Mount Moriah, Har HaMoriah, the place where his father was bound, the place where we would have the Beit HaMikdash. And night settles quicker than expected. Our sages say miraculously. And Yaakov prays the evening prayer. Yaakov is going to teach us about how a Jew contends with the night, with the period of Galut, the period of exile. And so Yaakov composes the evening prayer of Aravit. And he prays over there. And when he's about to go to sleep, he sees right next to him the altar that his father was bound on. And it's been broken. And he sees the 12 stones lying there. And he puts them together in a way that they will protect his head when he goes to sleep. And he goes to sleep. And he sees a prophetic dream, and Hashem is above him watching him. And Hashem shows him a ladder that reaches till the heaven, and its feet are firmly planted in ground, and he sees angels going up and down. And he's being taught about the potential of man to ascend to heaven, as Moshe Rabbeinu will on Sinai, as his descendants, the Jewish people, will be able to ascend through Torah given at Sinai. And Hashem tells Yaakov Avinu, as you watch angels go up and down, every one of those angels represents one of the 4 great nations that will ultimately put your descendants in servitude. And when the 4th one starts climbing, and that is Esav, so Hashem tells Yaakov, go up the ladder and take him down. And Yaakov is scared. He sees Esav go up and up and up, and it feels like it's never ending. And Hashem says, don't worry, and then I'll take him down. And the message of the dream is about the 4 nations that would ultimately take the Jewish people under their servitude. And ultimately, Esav will seem like he's the 4th kingdom, and it seems like it's never ending. And Hashem says, but in the end it will. And Hashem promises Yaakov, I am with you. Just as Hashem promised Avram, he is with him. And when Yaakov wakes up in the morning, he miraculously finds a pitcher of oil. And he sees that the 12 rocks he slept by, they all became one. And he is given this promise by Hashem that there is a covenant, Berit HaShvatim, that he will have 12 children, and they will all be united, and they will be part of the future of the world. And so Yaakov takes that slab, that stone, and he anoints it with oil in honor of Hashem, and he plants it in the ground, and that is the stone that's there today under the dome of the rock. And Yaakov goes out, and he comes to the well, and he asks the shepherds, why are you all gathering so early? What's the deal? So they say, well, we all have to gather. There's this big stone on the well. We can't take it off alone. When everyone gathers, we take it off. He says, have you heard of Lavan? They tell him, sure, his daughter Rachel's coming. He's doing great. So when Rachel comes, Yaakov single-handedly shifts that rock off the well, and he waters the sheep, and he tells Rachel that he's her relative. Now, Rachel has grown up her whole life with her twin sister Leah, knowing that she's supposed to marry Yaakov. And they discuss it, and it's love at first sight. They both sense this is right. Rachel warns him, my father's a swindler. He's going to try to switch me and my sister. And Yaakov says, don't worry. Part of the Torah we learn is also how to undo swindling. I'll outsmart him. And so Yaakov teaches him the 3 mitzvahs that a Jewish woman has in Judaism. Chala, nida, adlakas haner, family purity, the bread, that we take off a part of the bread and we give to a Kohen, and lighting a candle, making sure there's light in the house for Shabbat. And that is, he says, the code. When we get married, I'm going to ask you that code. And that way, if he tries to trick me, I'll know it's you. Well, he makes this deal with Lavan. Lavan asks him, what do you want in order to marry my daughter? He says, I'll work you 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter. And at the end of the 7 years, the wedding is made at night. And Lavan tricks Yaakov, and he takes Leah, and he says, Rachel, you're staying home. And he takes Leah in the wedding gown, and it's dark. And Rachel sees to her horror that Leah is going to be embarrassed publicly when Yaakov asks her, tell me the code, and she won't know it. So Rachel tells Leah the code. And the next morning, Yaakov realizes that he was duped, and he goes to Lavan and he says, what'd you do? And Lavan says, hey, over here it doesn't work that way. You got to marry the elder before you marry the younger. So you can marry the younger. We're going to finish your 7 days of rejoicing, Sheva brachos. You'll marry Rachel, and then you'll work for me for 7 more years. And Lavan shows him that the people are on his side and he's the only one in town. So Yaakov has no choice and he does that. And he's faithful to Lavan. And then at the end of the 14 years, he comes to Lavan and says, I gotta go. And Lavan says, I recognize that all my blessing is thanks to you. So if you could stick around, we'll make whatever deal you want. In this time, Yaakov has had a bunch of children. Leah has had Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, and she's always pining for Yaakov to feel closer to her than Rachel, but that doesn't work. And finally, Hashem remembers how Rachel cared for her sister. And even though Rachel physically could not have children, she merited a miracle, and she had Yosef, her first son. Had she not allowed Leah to go first, had she not given that sign, she would have been married to Yaakov childless. And somehow it would have ended, and Yaakov would have married Leah. When it seemed like Rachel was forgoing something to help her sister, really that's what gave her the rights in heaven that she had the son Yosef. And at the end of 20 years, Yaakov realizes that Lavan and his children, they really hate him. And so Yaakov sees no choice, but he packs up the family and he leaves when Lavan is far away. And as he's on the run, Lavan comes chasing after him, ready to kill him. And Hashem appears in a dream and tells Lavan, you better not hurt my Yaakov. And so when they meet, Lavan says, I had a good mind to hurt you, but your God showed up at night last night and told me not to. There's just one thing. My idol, my truffim are missing. Now his daughter Rachel, she wanted to make sure her father would stop being a pagan, so she took that idol. But no one knew that other than Rachel. So Yaakov mistakenly says, whoever took that will die. But no one finds it. Rachel hides it well. And in the end, Yaakov and Lavan make a pact. They build this big pile of stones. I'm not going to cross this pile to you. You don't cross the pile to me. And with that, Lavan leaves. Yaakov continues his journey to Israel, and he sees angels approaching. Our Parsha begins with the angels he sees in the dream leaving Israel. And as he's on his return to Israel, the angels are coming to greet him. Shabbat Shalom.